Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to see how we go about completing the Cisco Networking Academy Lab 2.1.1.5, Create a Simple Network Using Packet Tracer. For this lab demonstration, I will be stepping through the requirements for creating a simple network using Packet Tracer, using the lab file from the Cisco Networking Academy. The reason this lab is important is because if you're a first-time user with Packet Tracer, this lab is going to give you everything that you need to know to be able to navigate and be able to build networks and complete labs using Cisco Packet Tracer. And so the objectives of this lab is to build a simple network in the logical topology workspace of Packet Tracer, configure the networking devices, test connectivity between the networking devices, and be able to save the file and be able to exit Packet Tracer. Cisco Packet Tracer is a free Cisco simulator that you can download for free from the Cisco Networking Academy by just registering an account. Once we have Packet Tracer up and running, the next thing we have to do is to add devices to our logical topology. Make sure that the logical option is selected inside of Packet Tracer. We can add devices to our logical topology inside of Packet Tracer by using the device type selection box, which is located in the lower left of Packet Tracer. If you put your mouse over any of these icons, you'll see that you have networking devices, you have end devices, you're next going to have components, and here we have our connections or our cable types. We next have miscellaneous. We next have multi-user connections. And down here on the next level, we have routers, switches, hubs, wireless devices, security, and our WAN emulation. Using the lab file, you'll see that we have an image showing our logical topology and the devices that we need to add to this topology. So we're going to start off with a PC. We'll add in a wireless router, a laptop, a cable modem, an internet connection, and a Cisco.com server. Again, we go down here to the lower left and we're going to click on where it says End Devices. Here we see that we have our PC, our laptop, server, and a number of other devices that we can use to build a logical topology. Let's just go ahead and begin by just clicking on the device and dragging it to the screen. Go ahead and reduce the size here. Next, we're going to drag the laptop to the screen, like so. Next, we're going to grab a wireless router and we're going to bring that to our logical topology. To add a wireless router to our logical topology, we first need to click on where we have networking devices. We then go down to the second level and we're going to click on where it says wireless devices. And from our options, we're going to select the WRT300N wireless router. And we're just going to drag that up onto our topology screen. We next need to add our cable modem. Now to do this, again, I'm going to click on where it says networking devices. Then down here at the second level, I'm going to go to where we have our WAN emulation. And from the options that we have, I'm going to grab the cable modem and just drag it on up here to my logical topology. We next need to add our WAN connection. To do this, again, I'm down here with the networking devices. I'm going to grab this cloud right here on the second level, and I'm just going to drag that on up to my logical topology. So the last thing we have to add is our server, and to do that, I'm going to click on End Devices, and from here, I'm going to go over to the next window and find a server, click on it, and just drag it on over to my topology and let it go. We next need to add the connectivity to our logical diagram using the correct cable type. To do this, we're going to click on the lightning bolt down here where we have our device display. And here over in the next window, you see that we have our different cable types. We're going to use a straight through cable, which is marked here in a solid black line. And we're just going to take this, click on it, And we're going to take this one connection here and we're going to connect to the PC, and we're going to use the fast Ethernet 0. Then we're going to drag this on up here to our router, and we're going to click on that, and we're going to click on Ethernet 1. In networking, to communicate between two dissimilar devices such as a router and a modem, we're also going to use a straight-through cable. So again, for my cable selection, I'm going to click on the straight-through cable. I'm going to go up to my router. I'm going to click on the router. I'm going to select Internet. And from here, I'm going to drag it on down to the cable modem, where I'm going to click on the cable modem and select port 1. We'll next connect our cable modem to our cloud. And to do this, I'm going to need a coax cable. So I'm going to go down here to my cable selection. And you'll note that the coaxial is represented with a blue lightning bolt. Go ahead and click on that. Drag it on over to your cable modem. Click on the cable modem, and you're going to select port 0. And from here, you're going to drag it on over to the cloud. Click on the cloud, and you're going to connect it to coaxial 7. We're next going to connect the cloud to our server. To do this, again, I'm going to use a straight-through cable. From my cable selection, I will click on the straight-through cable option. I'll then go over here to my cloud, click on the cloud, and I'm going to select Ethernet 6. From here, I'm going to connect it to my server by clicking on the server and connecting the other end to the fast Ethernet 0 connection. We next need to configure our wireless networking, but before we do this, we can go ahead and pause for a moment and rename the devices as we see fit. Now, according to the lab, these should just be named as basic as possible, such as my PC will become PC. My laptop will be renamed as laptop, so on and so on. Now, to do this, I'm just going to click on the device, and I'm going to go to the config option where we have the display name. I'm just going to rename it, close it, and go to my next item, which is the laptop. And I'll do the same. Click on config, get rid of that 0, close it out. Next, I'll do my wireless router, and I'll go to the config, and I'll just call that wireless router. Do the same thing with my cable modem. Again, go to config, rename it, close it out. Same thing with my cloud. And the server we're going to call Cisco.com. So I'll click on the server, I'll go to config, and I will rename this as Cisco.com. We can next move on and configure our wireless network. To configure our wireless network, we're going to begin by configuring our wireless router. Now, to do this, I'm just going to double click it. This opens up the setup page of our wireless router. Once you're inside of the GUI, just go ahead and click on the wireless tab, and you're going to rename the network name or the SSID to Home Network, all one word. We can leave everything else as the default and go back to our setup. On the setup page, we're going to allow for automatic configuration using DHCP. And we're going to go down here to where we have our IP address, and we're going to make sure that the IP address for the router is set to 192.168.0.1, and that the subnet mask is a Class C subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. We're going to make sure that DHCP server is set to enabled. We're going to set the start IP address to 100, and we're going to allow for a maximum number of users to be set to 50. Since our wireless router will be handing out DHCP information to any wireless device, we're going to need to give it the information about what DNS server clients need to be using. To do this, we're going to go down to where it says static DNS1, and we're going to type in the IP address of that specific DNS server. We're going to begin in the first octet by typing in 208, and in the second octet we're going to type in 67. In the last two octets we're going to type in 220. And we're going to scroll on down, and we're going to click on the button that says Save Settings. Let's go ahead and close out the configuration page for our wireless router. And we next need to configure our laptop to connect wirelessly to our wireless router. Now to do this, we're going to go ahead and double click our laptop. Once we have the configuration page open for our laptop, let's click on Physical. Here we're going to click on this button to turn the laptop off. The laptop is now off. We're next going to find this adapter, this Ethernet adapter. We're going to click on it and we're going to drag it on over here to where we have our modules on the left of the page. Just let it go. We're next going to add a wireless adapter to our laptop. The wireless adapter that we're going to use is the WPC300N. So we're going to put our mouse on this module and we're just going to drag it on over here to our laptop and we're going to let it go. You'll notice that we put it right back into the same interface from which we removed the internet or the wired adapter. We next need to turn the laptop power back on. And now we can go to our desktop. And from the icons, we're going to select PC Wireless. From our wireless network adapter settings, we're going to click on the tab that is labeled Connect. Once we tell the adapter to connect, it's going to scan the area for any available wireless networks. And in just a moment, it finds the network that we labeled Home Network. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And over here in the next window pane, we're going to click on the button that is marked Connect. Let's go ahead and close out the configuration page for our laptop. And you'll now see that on our logical diagram, we see that the laptop is connected to our wireless router. We next need to configure our PC to use DHCP to configure its network adapter with the IP information that it needs to be able to communicate on this network. To do this, we're just going to double click the icon and we're going to click on the tab marked Desktop, and here we're going to click on the icon for IP configuration. We're next going to select the radio button that is marked DHCP, and this machine is now configured to receive DHCP information. Let's go ahead and close out this IP configuration window, and we're next going to open up a command prompt by clicking on the icon that is labeled Command Prompt. To check our configuration of any network adapter, we can use the ipconfig command. So here at the prompt, I'm going to type in ipconfig, give it a space, give it a /, and then type in the word all. Hit enter. And in here you can see the IP configuration that was handed down from the wireless router. We can close out this window. We next need to configure our internet cloud. Now to do this, I'm going to double click it. That's going to bring up the interface for the config. I'm now going to click on the Physical tab. So let's go to the on and off switch here. Let's go ahead and click on that, turn the machine off. Next, let's go ahead and grab any existing modules that are currently installed and just drag them on over to where the modules are and let them go. We next need to replace those two modules we just took out with two more existing modules from the list. The first one is the PT-Cloud-NM-1CX, and the other one is the PT-Cloud-NM-1CFE. So let's just go ahead and just drag these on over to the slots we just emptied. And the last thing we need to do is just turn the machine back on. Let's next go to the Config tab. On the Config page, underneath where we have our connections, we're going to click on the one that is labeled Cable. Underneath Connections, we're going to create a cable connection. To do this, we're going to click on Cable, And over here in the right window pane, you'll see that the first pull down window has the option for either coaxial 7 or coaxial 9. We can go ahead and leave it at coaxial 7. We next need to add a fast Ethernet connection. Now to do this, you'll notice that we have two. We're going to use the fast Ethernet 8. So we're going to select fast Ethernet 8, and we're going to, on the next window, click the radio button that is marked cable. Go back to cable, and in this second pull down window, you're going to open that up and you're going to select fast Ethernet 8. You're then going to go down here to the bottom and click on the add button. We can close out this window, and we're now going to configure the Cisco.com server. To begin configuring the server, I'm just going to double click it. We're now inside the configuration options for the Cisco.com server. We're going to begin by going to Services, and we're going to click on DHCP. The first thing we'll need to do is to enable the service. Now we're going to do this by going over here where it says Service, and we're just going to click on the radio button that is labeled On. For the pool name, type in DHCP all uppercase pool. We next need to configure the default gateway. Now the default gateway in this case is going to be the Cisco.com server. The default gateway is the IP address of last resort. So if a client needs to get off of the network to go to the internet, they're going to go to the default gateway. And that's why we include that information into the DHCP configuration. So where it says default gateway, we're going to type in 208.67.220.220. Now we're also going to use the same IP address for the DNS server. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it here. And I'm going to put that into the block for the DNS server. We're going to use a starting IP address of 1. And we're going to have a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 and allow a maximum number of users of 50. Once you have all that configured, go ahead and click on the Add button. Let's leave the services page open and let's click on DNS. First thing we have to do is enable the DNS service. So let's find the radio button marked On and click on that. And we're next going to configure an A record for this server. So the name of this A record is going to be Cisco.com. And the type is A record. The address for this A record will be 208.67.220.220. When you have everything configured correctly, go ahead and click on the Add button. We next need to configure the global settings for this device. To do this, we're going to go back on over to our config page and we're going to click on Global. Under where it says Gateway DNS IP version 4, we're going to make sure that the radio button that is marked static is selected. For the default gateway, we're going to type in 208.67.220.1. For the DNS server, we're going to type in 208.67.220.220. On the config page, underneath interfaces, let's find our fast Ethernet 0. Let's go ahead and click on that. Make sure that underneath IP configuration, the static button is selected. And for the IP version 4 address, we're going to type in 208.67.220.220. And for the subnet mask, that should read 255.255.255.0, and we can leave everything else at the default. We have now completed the configuration of our Cisco.com server. Let's go ahead and close out that window. And back on over here at our PC, go ahead and give that a double click. And we're going to bring up a command prompt. And here we're going to do, go ahead and bring this up here real quick. We're going to type in ipconfig, give it a space, /renew, and hit enter. Give it a second, comes back up, and we can see that it is picking up its DHCP information from the wireless router. And since we have configured an A record on the DNS server that is labeled cisco.com, we should be able to ping by name. So when I didn't get the 4 positive responses that I wanted back from the server, I did some troubleshooting, and I found that I had misspelled Cisco and put in a O instead of a I in the name. And when I corrected my mistake, I did the ping one more time, and the response was positive. And now we have complete connectivity from the PC all the way over to the cisco.com server. According to the lab, we have one last thing to do, and that is to save our work. To do this, we just go up to File. We're going to do Save As, and we're going to save our work wherever we feel comfortable saving it, and we're going to give it a user-friendly name. I've called my work Simple Network.pkt. Once you've done that, go ahead and do a save. And now you're ready to close out Packet Tracer and get on with the rest of your day. To do this, you can go up here to the top right and click on the red X, or you can go to File and you can exit gracefully. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about using the Cisco Packet Tracer Simulator to create a very simple network. Got any questions, you got concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.